Surprisingly, over 90% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. If you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button. It motivates us to keep creating and helps us never miss an upload. And you'll never miss a story again. I never thought that a simple family gathering could unravel everything I believed about my life. Not like this. It started quietly, the kind of quiet that settles in your chest, making your breath catch, but you push it aside because you think you're imagining things. Or worse, you convince yourself that those little moments mean nothing. We had been married for 12 years, long enough to build a life, long enough to think we were solid, unshakable. Our family gatherings were usually warm, filled with laughter and old stories. This one was no different on the surface, but beneath it, something was shifting, and I was blind to how quickly it would come undone. The morning of the gathering, I woke up early. I remember standing by the window, watching the pale light stretch across the quiet street. The house was still, too still, and I found myself listening for any sound, any clue that something was off. It was the sort of silence that feels heavy, like it's waiting to be broken. My wife Claire was in the kitchen, humming softly, preparing breakfast. Her back was turned when I noticed the way her shoulders tensed for a moment, almost imperceptible, as if she was hiding something beneath her calm. We spoke little that morning, our conversation limited to the usual. What to bring, who would arrive first. But there was a distance in her eyes, like she was somewhere else entirely. I told myself it was nothing, just nerves about the family coming over, the stress of hosting. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something lingered just beneath the surface. As the afternoon stretched on and our relatives arrived one by one, the house filled with the usual chatter. Old aunts swapping recipes, cousins exchanging jokes, kids running around the garden with reckless abandon. Claire moved through the crowd with practiced ease, smiling and laughing, but every now and then I caught a flicker in her expression. Hesitation, maybe? Or was it guilt? My mind twisted in knots, trying to interpret these tiny, silent signals. Then, there was the phone. I noticed how she guarded it, slipping it into her pocket when she saw me looking. Once, when I glanced over, the screen lit up briefly, and I caught the name Mark flashing across. I'd never heard her mention that name before. I asked her casually later, but she brushed it off with a smile and a vague, "Oh, just a colleague." It was the sort of answer that didn't quite satisfy, but I let it pass, telling myself I was overthinking. Dinner was a blur of plates and polite conversation. The house buzzed with the familiar noise of family, yet I felt isolated, trapped inside a fog of suspicion and doubt. Claire was distant, but never openly cold. It was worse, the quiet avoidance, the way her hand would slip from mine when I reached out. I remember gripping my fork a little too tightly, my heart hammering in my chest, desperate for a sign that I was imagining everything. After the meal, we all moved to the living room. My father-in-law was telling a story from his youth, and everyone was listening, hanging on his every word. Claire was standing near the window, her phone buzzing quietly in her hand. I could see the screen, another message from Mark. This time, I didn't look away. The words on the screen made my stomach drop. It was a casual, almost intimate conversation, the kind that didn't belong in a marriage. I wanted to confront her, to demand the truth, but the room was full of family and I was frozen by the weight of what I was about to learn. I tried to swallow the knot in my throat and keep calm, to preserve the peace for at least a little longer, but the night wasn't done yet. The moment came when my sister-in-law, Rachel, casually mentioned she had bumped into Claire and Mark earlier that week, at a cafe, just the two of them. I watched Claire's face, the subtle flicker of panic, the way she avoided my gaze. My mind screamed for me to say something, to ask for an explanation, but the words caught in my throat. Then, almost like fate, my phone buzzed with a message. I glanced down and saw a photo. Claire and Mark, not just casually meeting, but close, too close. The image was clear, undeniable. I could feel every eye in the room on me, the silence stretching like a tightrope about to snap. The room, once filled with warmth and laughter, now felt cold and suffocating. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my voice as I spoke. "Claire, who is Mark?" And just like that, the fragile facade shattered. The silence that followed my question was thick, almost unbearable. I could feel the eyes of every family member on us, the weight of their unspoken thoughts pressing down. Claire's face paled, her eyes flickering with something I couldn't quite place. Guilt, fear, maybe regret. For a moment, I thought she might deny it, deflect, say it was a misunderstanding. But no. Her voice was soft, barely above a whisper. Mark is, someone I've been seeing, she said. The words felt like a punch to the gut. But what struck me more was the calmness in her tone, as if she had been carrying this secret in silence for a long time, waiting for the moment to come clean. I sat back slowly, my heart hammering. The room around me seemed to blur, as though I was watching a scene unfold from a distance. My parents looked shocked, my siblings wide-eyed. Rachel shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Claire's gaze. My father-in-law cleared his throat, the story he was telling moments ago, now completely forgotten. Why? I managed to ask, my voice cracking despite my efforts to stay composed. Why keep this from me? From all of us? Claire looked down, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I was lonely and things got complicated. I'm so sorry. The words hung in the air, heavy with truth and sorrow. I felt a storm of emotions swirling inside me. Anger, confusion, heartbreak. But most of all, there was an aching sadness, a quiet grief for the life I thought we had. My mother's voice broke through the tension. Claire, we love you both, but this hurts. It hurts all of us. There was a pause, a collective breath held. I realized then that this moment was not just about betrayal. It was about the fragile bonds that hold a family together and how easily those bonds can fray. I stood up slowly, needing space to think, to breathe. Claire didn't follow me. She remained seated, surrounded by faces filled with a mix of sympathy and judgment. Outside, the garden was bathed in the soft glow of evening light, the world continuing as if nothing had changed. I walked outside and let the cool air wash over me, trying to steady the whirlwind inside. The truth was out now, raw and undeniable. But even in the depths of this pain, I knew one thing for certain. The road ahead would be long and uncertain. And whatever happened next, this night would mark the beginning of a new chapter, one where nothing could ever be the same. The cool evening air settled around me like a fragile shield, but inside, my mind was anything but calm. I stood alone on the back porch, the sounds of the gathering muffled through the closed door behind me. The laughter, the murmurs, it all felt distant now, like echoes from a life I was no longer part of. I traced the rough grain of the wooden railing beneath my fingertips, trying to anchor myself in the moment. I kept replaying Claire's words over and over. I was lonely. Simple. Devastating. It wasn't the explosive confession I'd feared. No shouting or blame, just a quiet truth that unraveled everything. I wondered when the loneliness had started. Was it before me? Was it during all those years? I thought we were building something solid? The questions spiraled, each one more painful than the last. After a while, Claire stepped outside. She stood a few feet away, hesitant, as if unsure whether to come closer or keep her distance. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and I saw the shame there, but also a raw vulnerability I hadn't noticed before. I never wanted to hurt you, she said softly. I never planned for any of this to happen. Her voice cracked slightly, and for the first time, I felt the weight of her regret, not just for the betrayal, but for the pain it caused us all. I wanted to reach out, to comfort her, but my hands were trembling and the anger bubbling inside me was hard to suppress. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked quietly. Why let it go on in secret? She looked down, silent for a long moment, then, I was afraid of losing you, afraid of what this would do to our family. I thought maybe I could fix it, but I was wrong. I nodded slowly, understanding more than I wanted to admit. Fear had kept us apart, and now the truth was laid bare in front of everyone we loved. The door creaked behind me, and my father-in-law stepped out, his expression grave but kind. Son, he said, these things happen. We don't always see the cracks until they widen. but you're not alone in this. His words were a small comfort, a reminder that despite the pain, family could still be a source of strength. The others soon joined us outside, their faces reflecting shock, sorrow, but also a willingness to support. My mother reached out and took my hand, squeezing it gently. Rachel stood beside Claire, offering quiet solidarity. We talked late into the night, not about accusations or blame, but about what had happened and what might come next. Claire promised to seek help, to be honest from now on, and I promised to try to listen even when it hurt. It wasn't a solution, not yet. The road ahead was uncertain, and I knew there would be more tears, more hard conversations. But in that moment, under the vast night sky, I felt the first fragile thread of hope that maybe, through honesty and forgiveness, we could begin to heal. The family gathering ended not with celebration, but with a quiet resolve to face the truth together. And, though the future was unknown, I was determined to find a way forward, one step at a time.